Okay, this is a whole house vacuum. Excuse me, a whole house fan. And back in the day, you'd close your house up, and the house would get hot, and you came home, and you would turn the fan on. The switch has been decommissioned, and it'd suck all the heat out of the house. You can start heating it, but that was before central. And those are no longer necessary. This is now a heat sink. All the metal just attracts heat. There's insulation in the attic on top of it. You probably saw that from the attic video. But this is an obsolete system. Obsolete system, no longer in favor, no longer popular with building sciences. And the most prudent thing to do would be to take this thing out, refinish the ceiling, re-insulate the roof. As it is, this is a thermal bridge. This is where all your money goes. This is the thermostat. It's programmable. It's in the hall between the laundry, utility, and the master bedroom door. This is the indoor air handler. This door does not stay closed. This door is not insulated. This is a furnace. Gas could spill out of the furnace, go into the return air, get broadcast back up through the system, through the entire house. So this is not an acceptable arrangement. This is not an acceptable arrangement. The proper thing to do would be to make this door weather tight and latchable. And then, what we're going to do here, then come on up. All we got is that hole. That's all we have is that hole. It's supposed to ventilate this furnace. We do not have makeup air. Or maybe that's the makeup air. We don't have a combustible. Oh, that's a combustible air supply right there. So we got combustible air. I don't see it. It doesn't come through the wall. So I guess that comes through the ceiling right there. So that's your combustible air and your makeup air. This is that one hole right there, that loop. It's highly questionable. Highly questionable. System looks like it's about 3 years old. There's where the air filter goes, 20 by 25 by 1. This electric power supply going into the unit. This should have electric. This should be a flexible conduit. This should have conduit on it. The gas line does have a sediment trap, so that's good. That's good. I'm not seeing a carrying yeast manual. Not the worst thing in the world. You don't have a book, but you don't have a book. You don't have a carrying yeast manual. This P trap. And this is a safety switch. Some people call them float switches. I mean, I do. But anyway, so you don't, a secondary drain line is not required when you have this switch. So that's a good thing. But this trap right here, it's supposed to be insulated. They did that. They put a little sock on it. Yeehaw! Okay, but it's also a shallow trap. And a lot of manufacturers, you have to check with this. I don't have a book. You have to check with a ring, but a lot of manufacturers do not like shallow P-traps. They want this P-trap to be deeper. They want a deeper P-trap right here. I'm sorry, it's just the way it works. Just the way it works. So this is it. We got a problem with the door, ventilation, short cycling. We got a problem with the combustible air. We got a short P-trap. Other than that, I don't know how you do it, but we do not have a thimble for the flute, for the exhaust flute. We do not have protective conduit on the electric cable going into the cabinet. We just don't. That's what we don't have. Coming on along, hot and cold should be labeled, and they're not. And the handles are broken, and the clothes dryer length should be labeled, and it's not. And I had this 3-prong clothes dryer, and I had a little bit of difficulty finding out how this thing even vents. But we found out this door should have a self-closing spring on it. The door should swing closed on its own accord. If there's a fire out there in the garage, if there's a fire out there, listen to Hillbilly Home Inspections, if there's a fire in the garage, there's nothing to keep it from walking in to the living area. There's not. And there's a cat right there. Look at you. Meow. Okay, this door's supposed to swing closed on its own accord. It didn't. This is the closed door, this is the water heater. And it's 8 years old. They last about 10. But it's 8. It's 8. It's not too old. It might last 11. I don't know. It's got a safety pan, but the safety pan drain line just drains right out onto the garage floor. Okay, that's less than ideal. The gas line, unlike the furnace, the gas line does not have a sediment trap. The data plate. Like the furnace, we do not have a care and use manual. The temperature pressure relief drain valve, that should be insulated. So should the water supply lines to the water heater. And I don't know if you can see that. Hang on one second. Get my mask away. I'm outside now. The door, okay, the threshold's cracked right here. There's the bonding right there for the electrical system. That's good. So what we got here is the dielectric unions. We've got corrosion on those. These water supply lines should be insulated. The screen is clogged. Of course, they knocked a hole in it, and the screen's wrong anyway. So the hole is right, except that it should be lined to keep the attic insulation from falling down into the floor like that. So that new approved hole should be lined to keep the insulation in, and that should probably just be recovered with sheetrock, gypsum board, wall board, call it what you will, but we've got too much open space up here now in case we have a fire or a meltdown. We need some. We have to live with some, but we shouldn't have that much. There's your combustion air, and it's a screen. Screens are no longer allowed. That's your makeup air. Screens are no longer allowed. In fact, what you should have is a pipe that comes down here for your makeup air. So, I mean, I can just keep on going and going and going. This poor guy, he's got some issues. He's got some issues. It's kind of loose right there. Kind of bad. Alright, this ceiling. This garage ceiling is none the worse for wear. I think I got a better still image of this, but obviously we've had some water issues. This is the garage car door opener. The button is over 5 feet. That's good. We should have a warning sticker. There we go. See that? It should be stuck better. I fixed it. Alright. And these staples, these should be insulated staples, and they're not. But it's 5 feet up. It's got the warning sticker. 5 feet up. Let's push it. Let's run through this stuff. I think this garage has got some storage in it. I do. Okay. The optic sensors are not supposed to be closer to the garage floor than 6 inches. Of course they work. And you're supposed to have a pull handle inside the door. I guess that one in the corner, does that cut it? I don't know, man. I couldn't use it. It's there. You can't say you don't have one. You're supposed to have warning stickers, okay? Spring tension warning stickers on both corners of the door there. That's what you're supposed to have. And then you're supposed to have just that same sticker that's over there, that notice. You're supposed to have the notice on this door. We do have a pull handle, but the courtesy lights don't work. Courtesy lights are inoperable. And we have an extension cord. You're not supposed to have an extension cord run into your garage door opener. You do. I mean, but you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be there. Not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be different. It's supposed to have its own electric receptacle outlet. You can even use that one, but it'll be controlled by the light switch. So, you know, name your poison. How are we gonna get in here? Is this ridiculous or what? I think it's ridiculous. Okay. Now some of this I know has to be here. I get it. People need a place to put their stuff. But if you got to get to the breaker box, load center, service panel, okay, if you got to get over here, good luck. Alright, it was nailed in, that's a good thing. Not supposed to have more than 1/8 of an inch difference around the cabinet. That compromises the fire blocking. And then up here we got these knockout holes. You got an open knockout hole right there, just fire sparks shooting out. Here we got one, we got cables just coming through. Here we got one cables just coming through like that. Rubbing on the edge, that's not good. Wires touching the panel cover, that's not good. These little pointy screws, okay, that's not good. That's not good. You think those pointy screws won't go through some insulation over here? Just jump in there and grab yourself a dose of electricity. It'll happen. It'll happen. Inside the panel, we're supposed to have the bonding location. That's on the water heater. We're just over the water heater. I said on the cold water side, the bonding location. We know where it is. We saw it. It's supposed to be labeled here. Somebody shouldn't have to go on a treasure hunt. I found it by accident. Now, if this panel was installed today and it wasn't, then L1 and L2 is L2. That's L1. There'd be little plastic safety covers on them. It's a safety device, so that's why I'm calling it out. The leads are kind of long here. See how it's going past the shoulder? See all that right there? You get some good old electricity going. Coming in here on these neutrals. You got neutrals and grounds sharing the same bus bar. You can do that on a main panel. But what you can't do, you can double grounds, but now you got a neutral in there with a ground. You can't do that. I mean, you can. Look, somebody did it. Somebody can do it. But you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And the white hots should be wrapped with black tape. I know, it's just tape. If you don't know that's hot, you don't belong in the cabinet. You don't belong in this box. I get that. And then on the neutral, the main neutral cable coming into the bus bar, that should be wrapped with white tape. And again, if you don't know that's the main neutral, you don't belong in this cabinet. But it's supposed to be wrapped with tape. It just is. I didn't make up the rules. I don't make up the rules. I'm a mockingbird. I just sing and sing and sing. So we got bundling. See all these small knockouts? It's because you're only supposed to bring 2 cables in at a time. 2 cables in at a time. But this knockout is for big L1, L2, and L3. They have several of them because they didn't know where they're going to be. And then they got all these small ones. Those are for these. Is that common? Yeah. Is it at my house? Yeah. My house isn't for sale. My house is not for sale. Every house on the block have this? They sure do. So, is anybody going to change it? Nobody has ever called me so far. Nobody's ever called me and said, "Bub, we got that bundling issue taken care of." I'm going, great. I never gotten that phone call. I welcome it. You know, I mean, I would never dissuade my client from seeking perfection, but that might not be the best battle plan. Might not be. But let's talk about the breaker box. Load center. Electric service panel. Call it what you will. This baby is a Federal Pacific stab lock. 200 amps. Okay, not supposed to be hand labeled. It's supposed to be printed like that. Not handwritten. Not cursive. Printed. But really what we're talking about is the fact that it's a stab lock by Federal Pacific. There's not a code that says that I have to condemn this panel for being a Federal Pacific. The Texas Real Estate Commission does not require that I call this panel defective based on its manufacturer. Nothing's requiring that. This is just information. This is the most unpopular panel on the planet. There's a lot of them. Probably more in service. Well, fewer now, but 20 years ago there was more of these in service than in the United States living inventory, residential inventory, than any other panel. Very popular. Very popular. A lot of them got used. A lot of them caught on fire. Some of them killed some people. It burned down some houses. The United States Consumer Protection Agency spent $1 or $2 million researching these panels. They couldn't find a problem. They said, we believe you, but we can't find an actual problem with it. We're going to suspend our investigation to look for lead-based paint or some other thing that's bad for you. So they went on with their business. They gave up on this panel. But electricians don't give up. So all I can say is that any home inspector that looks at this home is going to call this out. So as far as a return on your investment, you probably do well to replace the panel. For safety, I'm a hypocrite. All that stuff wrong with the water heater is wrong with mine. More, actually. Everything's wrong with this garage door opener is wrong with mine. Everything's wrong with the indoor air handler is wrong with mine. I'm a hypocrite. All these things that I've been talking about up until this point is wrong in my house, which is not for sale. And you shouldn't have to live like me. But I replaced my Federal Pacific panel for my wife and my cats and my house